Hi, and welcome to a little demo of my painting techniques. We started out by selecting just the flesh tone area with the magic wand tool, and now using a stylus and a pressure sensitive tablet, I'm starting to add different values of flesh tone color in with just a regular paintbrush tool in Photoshop. I control the opacity of the paint by using the pressure sensitivity of the tablet. So the harder I press, the larger the brush gets, and also the darker the color gets. So I am just slowly building up washes over and over again on top of the base flesh tone, which is masked off thanks to the selection, and just very gradually making things darker and darker and darker. The base flesh tone is sort of a mid-range value, so I can work then darker in one direction towards the shadow colors, and then eventually I can switch over to a lighter color and slowly build up the various highlights. So I work in both directions, both darker and lighter. I work all on one layer with this. I don't have different kinds of layers. I have in the past had a layer that I would create for shadow colors and a layer I would create for the highlight colors. But I wouldn't necessarily do that all the time. This is a pretty simple image. What I'm doing right now is I've got a red color, and this red color is really bright, so I've actually changed the opacity of the brush itself down to about 10%. And I'm still using the opacity with the pressure sensitivity, but because it's only 10%, it's very light, and I'm able to use even more subtle type building. Now I'm adding a blue color, as you can see, to the beard area. It's like a blue-green color that I just added, just for a different kind of color. Now I'm adding highlights. I've got sort of a white or a much lighter colored base tone, and now I'm using just bright white and taking out the eyes and the teeth and those areas. I just continue to build up values and contrasts very gradually so that um, it becomes more and more three-dimensional looking. Now the line work is holding the color together. I'm very loose and quick with the color. This is a time lapse, obviously, but it's actually about 16 minutes of actual painting time. I've speeded up about 3 times. You can see how I'm going along the edges of the features and adding highlights. Um, then I'll erase out a large shadow area that I decided was a little bit too dark with a lighter flesh tone color, and then go back in and maybe build it up again. You can see where I've added red on the edges of the cheeks, on top of the nose and the ear areas, top of the forehead. Now I'm going in and adding some other colors like the blue in the eyes here. I'm going to start adding some shadow colors to the underneath of the lids as well. I'm darkening in the eyebrows. You can see that. See, now I'm adding some shadows just underneath the teeth where the lips and the upper eye area would cast a shadow. Now I'm selecting a different color. See, that color picker is how I will quickly change to a darker value to be able to really get some contrast going. I keep going darker and darker and darker, and eventually get to the point where I'm putting in the very darkest of the shadow colors, which is the end of the shadow value spectrum, and then the end of the highlights will be bright white. I've got one bright white highlight just on the end of my nose. I'm probably going to add maybe another one just on the tops of the cheeks and in a couple places that really catch the light. See there, I'm adding some more light colors. I usually use just a paintbrush, a regular round type paintbrush, but in some cases I will use more of a textured brush, especially when I'm adding the highlights and the tops of the skin tones, because that gives it a little bit of a texture and gives it a little bit of a feel of pores and the imperfections that are on the skin. Now I'm adding a little bit of reflected light here and there. I just keep working it up. If I don't like what I did, I can always go back over it with the base flesh tone just to wash it out a little bit and go back and try again. So it's a very forgiving technique. You can sit and model on something like this all day long. I'm going to go in and add some more brown in the hair here, and I actually won't be finishing this particular face during this demo because there'll be other highlights and colors from the background areas that I'll be adding later The background's going to be blue. I'll add some blue reflected light, especially in the hair. I'm going to be adding some other highlights in the hair on other layers. But this gives you a good idea of how I end up with the flesh tone and the basic modeling and three-dimensional qualities of the faces that I do. And this is the technique I use for MAD and a lot of my illustration work. It works very nicely with line art. Thanks for watching.